All right, I've got something wild to share with you. Tons of comments were asking about me to cover altcoins and maybe my favorite altcoin and the altcoin market and altcoin season. So I did some digging and I found some pretty wild stuff. And I'm going to lay it on you. Some of it's going to be a little bit of a shock. Some of it is going to be a complete advantage to use in the future. And if you stick around into the end, I'm going to share with you a huge bonus for just being on the wait list. This special message goes out to all of my students and everyone on the wait list. You already know, one missed exit this cycle and your crypto gains can vanish overnight. If you've ever watched your portfolio go up and you didn't know when to exit altcoins or Bitcoin, this new exit plan masterclass is for you. And to my students and everyone on the wait list, I have never, ever released any exit plan strategy before. This is the very first time, and I'm so excited. This is going to be the best thing I have ever built. Also, to my students, if you're my student but not on the wait list, you better get on the wait list immediately because there's huge advantages to being on the wait list. Number one, you're going to get the first opportunity to sign up. Number two, when you sign up, if you get your seat in the first 24 hours, you're going to immediately unlock a special gift from me that nobody else will ever get, and it will never be released. It'll be a special gift from me to you if you're able to lock in your seat in the first 24 hours from the wait list. So if you're a student and not on the wait list, just go to my website, cryptocrewuniversity.com, jump on the wait list. Huge advantages for being on the wait list. This is a pre-sale, and I just want you to know my students are loyal and they know I've never released this exit plan strategy before. They know this is brand new, and because of that, the seats are going to fill up real fast. So if you hesitate even a little bit, you're going to miss out. So mark your calendars, April 21st. Watch your inbox like a hawk. This is your chance to exit like a pro before the next crash. All right. Let's get into this video. I have a lot to share with you, including some very interesting things that I found in the charts that you're going to need to know to take advantage of this. And also, towards the end of the video, I want to share one of the biggest lessons I've learned over having so many different cycles play out so many different ways. Because you're probably sitting here with your altcoins like, you know, what should I do? Should I sell? Are we going down? Should I buy? Are we going up? What should I do? Right? There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of things that are not clear. And I'm going to share what has helped me go through some brutal lessons for, you know, cycles and cycles before finally waking up and realizing how this game works. So let's start with the charts. Impactful story near the end, and I want to show you a couple of charts, and we've got to start here. We've got a lot happening with price action. What are we looking at? We're looking at the total market cap excluding Bitcoin. So you guys wanted altcoins. This is the grand poobah of altcoin charts. This is the granddaddy. This is the most important altcoin chart. So whatever your favorite altcoin is, this chart is going to tell you what you need to know about whatever your favorite altcoin is. So let's take a look. We got a lot happening with price action. I want to show you this white line that I have discovered that could help you tremendously. Now, when you take a look back at this white line, what you notice is it goes back all the way until 2017. And we happen to have played with this white line during every important phase of all the altcoin history since 2017. So we're going to take a look at that. There's also a lot happening in the middle of our screen with the stochastic RSI, and there's even more happening at the bottom of our screen with the RSI. So let's first start with price action. What you noticed with your price action is this. What we've got on our hands is we have this white line up at the top, and that's at about 1.59 trillion. Okay. That is our top. It's our top from 2021 when we had a double top, and it's been our top so far. In other words, we've seen Bitcoin create an all-time high, but we've seen altcoins struggle. And the reason is, just like Bitcoin was met with heavy resistance at about 70K, because 70K was our past all-time high with the double top. We spent months and months and months at that 70K as resistance, and then we finally broke through. And essentially what we're looking for is altcoins to do the same thing, just on a slight delay, which would be pretty standard for altcoins to be in a slight delay relative to Bitcoin. So I want to point out the 1.59 first. Double top from 2021 and recent peak of December 24. Now, the one good thing we have on our side in terms of this chart right here is the fact that we have, if you just look back until 2022, and you'll notice like, okay, 2022 was the start of the bull run. And from there, we created a low, right, from December 2022. And our next low wasn't as low. It's what's called a higher low, right? 1 year later, we made a low, but it's a higher low. That's really good. At the same time, we then made a higher high, higher than the previous. So then we're in an uptrend, right? We're creating higher lows and higher highs. And what we've done since that first higher high is we came back crashing down. Love these huge wicks. And by the way, we're on a weekly chart. These huge wicks were coming right down into our zone of support. Okay. And what you notice about that is this low that we made was also a higher low. So we had our first low, we had our first higher low, and then we had our second higher low, followed by our second higher high. In other words, we made 2 consecutive higher highs and 2 consecutive higher lows. This is really good, right? This is really healthy. What you'll notice is that that second higher high was into resistance zone dating back to the prior all-time high. Also par for the course. That's what's expected. You very rarely see the start of an uptrend and then suddenly just burst to the moon to a new all-time high. Usually in a healthy market, you see some level of resistance at a prior level of resistance from the prior market cycle. And from there, what we've done so far is we've come down and we've created a low. And what's interesting about this low is it's also a higher low. So now we've got 3 higher lows in a row, and so far 2 higher highs in a row. And what we simply want to do is to create yet another higher high. And your biggest question is it even possible? So I want you to take a mental screenshot of where we're at right now. We are at a higher low. We are seeing some wicks, not the type of wicks that we saw here. The wicks are going to detail how strong the next move is. You see these huge wicks, you see a strong move, right? Now I want you to follow this trend line, right? We started in 2022, but it goes back to 2017. And to really understand this trend line, we've got to go back to the origin. Back in 2017, the altcoin market had its biggest explosion. Since that time, there hasn't been an explosion as big as 2017, right? 2021, not nearly as big. This market cycle, nowhere near as big. 2017 was essentially the glory days so far of altcoins. And when we had the glory days of altcoins, you could see it was just a parabolic rise. It was almost, this is almost illegal, like how easy it was to make money. When we ran up, we had some market resistance. Now, keep in mind, these are weekly candles. So we saw a whole bunch of candles in a row start to hold resistance at this strange level. And at this strange level, it wasn't 1 week or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. It was a whole bunch of weeks. Then we finally broke through it, and then we confirmed as support, November 17th candle. And from there, we went to our cycle peak. And from there, we started to fall, and we fell back down to this trend line, the trend line that we started to create with all of these random weeks as resistance. And when we did, we came back down to this trend line and we broke it. And what we did is a classic move. We held a whole bunch of weeks in a row as resistance. This is when the market moves sideways. You can hear a pin drop, and mostly everybody is projecting for upward movement. But anytime you break a trend line and you start holding it as resistance for multiple weeks, it starts to show the market extreme weakness. And those always collapse. And they usually collapse pretty hard because at a major level of resistance, you do not want to hold resistance under this level. You want to hold support on top of that level. And we failed to do that. So we had a pretty big plummet from about 93 billion all the way down to about 36 billion. It was a pretty big plummet, and it was all because of weakness. Right? Then we battled all the way back. We started going on a surge from the beginning of 2019 up through this period. The market went from 36 billion all the way up to 140 billion. It was an explosion in altcoins. Nothing like we saw in 2017, but we can't deny it was an explosion. And we exploded so high, so fast, we went exactly to the place we were supposed to go. This precise trend line. And we hit it in June 2019. Keep in mind, that was the same level we had all that resistance on, and the showing of weakness and the huge plummet. We rallied just back to that point, the same point that we were showing resistance prior to the all-time high in 2017. That same level had so much power and conviction that it pushed us back down. And we fell all the way back down, making a classic double bottom in our altcoin market. You see the first bottom very clearly, December 2018, and you see the second bottom very clearly, March 2020. It's a textbook double bottom to the T, down to the exact dollar amount. Keep in mind, this chart covers all altcoins, not some, not the biggest, not the most famous, all of them, including the rug pulls. And somehow, some way, we've had a textbook double bottom. And a lot of people are like, well, that's an anomaly. No, men lie, women lie, the charts don't lie. And the charts are so accurate, you can't make this up. Even with all the scam coins out, no matter what, we had a classic textbook double bottom with huge wicks, by the way, not 1 week, but 2. What do you think that means? That means we're going up. That means we're going up big. Where are we going to go up to? Well, we've got that level right above our head that we're struggling with. We're probably going to go back there. And that's what we did, right? We had a huge skyrocket. We went from about 36 billion all the way back up to 166 billion, only to start feeling that resistance and getting pushed down again. But this time we had more power on our side. We were really in the center of the bull run, the hottest part of the bull run, and we were ready to take names. And we rallied right up to this line, and not 1 week, not 2 weeks, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6 weeks of resistance at that level. We finally broke through, held it as resistance, and our confirmation candle was in December 28th, 2020. And that, keep in mind, that was the first time that we had been above this trend line since making our all-time high in 2017. And that's exactly what we did. As soon as we broke that trend line, we immediately made a new all-time high. We hadn't made an all-time high in years. And as soon as we broke this trend line, and as soon as we held it as support, boom, the rest is history, all-time high. And then what happened next is pretty interesting, right? We had the first top, we had the double top, we had the subsequent plummet, and we started plummeting right into this level. Keep in mind, when you break resistance, it becomes support. When you break support, it becomes resistance. It's a pretty simple game. So we had this double top. Double top is quite literally a trend reversal. So we had a trend reversal and we're plummeting. And everyone's wondering, where are we going to plummet to? This is getting devastating. I have these altcoins. What do I do? Well, we're going to plummet right into our level that we're supposed to, right? No matter how high we went, no matter what, double top, triple top, no matter what was happening, we always come back to where we're supposed to based on structure. That's how it always goes, right? So this trend line is the most important trend line in all of altcoins, and it's not up for debate. You had that first bottom happen here into this level of support. You had this second bottom happen here into this level of support. Then the market moved sideways, which it was moving straight down. So when you start moving sideways, you know a transition period is coming. This is the most healthiest thing to see in any chart known to man. When you see a huge plummet down and then a big move sideways, you know the market is getting ready to move up. That's what it always does. In any time frame, you can look at the short time frames and see it, but the more money you're going to make are these higher time frames using those exact skills, and that's what happened. We moved sideways until we were met right at that line. This is not by accident. This is by design. Men lie, women lie, the charts don't lie. And as soon as we did that, what did we do? Huge shoot up, right? And that's when we made our start of our rally with these higher highs and higher lows, right? And the story continues, right? We made those higher highs, we made those higher lows, and we made our most recent high into our double top from the prior cycle. And since then, we've plummeted, but we've plummeted right down to where we're supposed to. Now, this leads me to what I want to say about altcoins. I want you to understand that this candle from April 7th, 2025 moved right down into this level. I also want you to understand that once per year, we touch this level. 2022 support. 2023 support, 2024 support, and so far in 25 support. Any move below here is a telltale sign that altcoins are in deep trouble. Any move from here that stays above this white line, it's a sign of strength. And there's no way around it, according to the facts in this chart, and we'll get more into what the rest of the chart says. But you've got to look at the history of this level. This level is not like a couple months, couple weeks. This is years, multiple years, and multiple cycles, with every important part of the cycle playing with this exact trend line. Now, here's what I want you to know. When you pair this with what's happening, you can look at the stochastic RSI. Keep in mind, the stochastic RSI is our momentum. And the last time we had a stochastic RSI cross was back in September 24, when we were here at roughly 800 billion. And we went from 800 billion all the way up to the 1.59 trillion. It's a huge move. Like it's pretty much a double in altcoins just from the last stochastic RSI cross. Typically, we get 1 or 2 of these per year. They're pretty rare on the weekly time frame, and we haven't had one yet in 2025. The one thing that we have against us is this divergence, right? When you look at it, it's the same as Bitcoin, where you had a high here back in March 24 and a higher high here from December 24. Not up for debate. A high, higher high. At the same time, our RSI had a high and a lower high. This is indisputable bearish divergence. However, bearish divergence is supposed to snap and break downward. If it does, it's going to take out this line, this trend line, which we will know right away. If it takes out this line, we can't trust anything that it does after that, because likely what will happen if we were to break said line and start holding it as resistance, we may plummet from there and we may rally, but we will only rally back into resistance. So any break of this line, that is clear and concise evidence of how this thing is going to play out. And any support of this line is really good strength for the altcoin market. Now, let's dig into the RSI, because there's a little bit more happening here. When we look at the RSI, we can see that we are down here. We don't need to have a doctorate degree to understand how the RSI works. The RSI is oversold and overbought. In other words, when we're above 70, you want to think about taking profits in all of your altcoins. And when we are, for example, on the weekly chart, anywhere below 40, you want to think about entering positions. Now, I just want to state the obvious that we crashed all the way down into the 30s here. And when we did, there's not many other times in the history of this chart that we were that oversold. Typically, you want to do the opposite of the herd. And if you understand the herd, you can understand from this chart right here that they're selling, and they're selling at the highest quantity since 2022 when we were at our market bottom. And that's not my opinion. That's just the facts in the charts. So yes, we have bearish divergence, but also we haven't been this low since these bottoms, right? And that's where it gets interesting, because we came down into the bottom here in July 2018 and we stayed down there until February 18. So it's not like maybe we're down there for a week or two, you know. In the bottoms of the markets, which you see here, we were down there for a long time. So nobody on planet Earth knows, is this the bottom of the altcoin market? What we do know is that we were in a bull run, and structurally we haven't broken that. And we have bearish divergence. We understand that. That doesn't mean we can't have another leg up. And really, it's going to come down to the break of this trend line, right? And it's really going to coincide with a stochastic RSI cross confirming above 20. Keep in mind, the last time we had that cross was in 24. We had a couple fake outs before we had said cross, and the one before then was in 23. So it was in 23, then it was in September 24, and here we are. It's almost like 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, and there you have it, right? So the altcoin market is definitely not dead. When you look at this chart, yes, we have bearish divergence, but structurally we're still fine. It's sort of similar to Bitcoin, where Bitcoin is like, hey, yeah, we have bearish divergence. Yes, there's some things pointing to 2021, but at the same time, structurally, we're still fine. With Bitcoin, structurally is 70K. 70K is exactly this structure here, where 70K for Bitcoin was also the prior all-time high, and we had a whole bunch of resistance at 70K, and then we finally broke it, and we've never closed below there on a valuable candle, like a weekly, 2-week, 3-week, monthly. So Bitcoin structurally is still sound. We're still in a bull run until proven otherwise. Same with the altcoin market. And keep in mind, the altcoin market is one of the most oversold places in history. I just want to state the facts for the record. Now, I do want to show my favorite altcoin, because there's something a little bit fishy. And then I want to share the valuable lesson that I learned going through all of these cycles for the past, whatever it's been, 25 years or whatever number is going to try to make me feel old. But in my mind, I'm still 26, so we're all good. Ethereum, my favorite altcoin. Something a little bit fishy going on with Ethereum. Now, with Ethereum, we have similar action where we had this trend line, not to 2017, but for the past handful of years, and we just closed below there. Not good. Okay? That's also not up for debate. You can see the trend line a little bit clearer coming from the beginning of February 20 and going up to this high, coming back down to said point in May 22, coming back down again in November 22, coming back down again in October 23, coming back down again recently in March 25, and then the subsequent break of that. So that's something to watch. However, at the same time, Ethereum, my favorite altcoin, is at this level in the RSI. And keep in mind, we're on a 2-week chart. If you want to know the exact chart, it's Ethereum US dollar 2-week chart Coinbase. You could pull up the exact one, and when you do, you're going to notice that right now, this arrow here, where we are right now as we speak in the RSI, overbought, oversold, is one of the most oversold territories of Ethereum's history. Now, keep in mind, you always want to do the opposite of the herd. Nobody knows if we're if the top is in or the top is not in, but we should trust the facts and the charts more. And what the facts and the charts are saying is like, hey, we have been this good of a buying opportunity precisely 2 other times in Ethereum's entire history. Just let that sink in for a moment. First time in Ethereum's history, here, December 2018, most oversold. We were down here in price, and then we went here. Next time, here, at the very beginning of this whole explosion that we saw recently, right? We had seen our market cycle top. We came back down to this point after our market cycle top, and we were here at the time, it was the second most oversold in history. And then we rallied into this bull market that we're in right now. The reason I tell you this is these are just the facts, okay? What is also true is that we went so high, we were so overextended back in 2017 that when we fell just below this yellow line. And then the next cycle, we exploded high, but not as high or not as overbought as the prior cycle. We went less. And so far in this cycle was even less back in February 24. In other words, this fall that we have seen is horrific, but it's not even close to the fall that this was to reach here below this yellow line. It's not close to the fall that this was in 21 to reach below this line. What I mean is that I created this second line here, and this gets potentially into the high 20s on the 2-week time horizon. In other words, we saw a percentage drop from this top down here of 62%. And our next cycle from the pivot high of the RSI to the pivot low was also 63%. In other words, if we were to do the same move of 63%, it brings us right down into where I drew this yellow line, which is just roughly at like 29. Which means if we were to have the same crash that we did then, we would get to this yellow line, not simply this one. Only because our prior market cycle went much higher, and the prior market cycle before that went much higher. In other words, when we're having our bear market, it will go even lower than the prior 2 bear markets, likely reaching around this yellow line. In other words, we're pretty close right now, right? We're in the mid-ish 30s, and we could potentially drop a little bit below 30 in potentially the worst case scenario. So it's some interesting information to break down with Ethereum. What we also have on our hands is this idea of the stochastic RSI cross. And on the 2-week time horizon, this is typically happening once per year. We had one in 24. That's when Ethereum went from this point of about 2,300 up to a little over 4,000. That was the last stochastic RSI cross back in August 24. The one before then was in September-ish 23. So if you notice a pattern, this kind of like, June, July, August, September, there's a lot of action that typically happens during bull cycles each year during that period, and it typically is a 2-week cross with obviously a weekly cross as well. So just something to point out for the record. Now, what we don't have with Ethereum that we do have with the altcoin market in Bitcoin is bearish divergence. We do have a double top, right? We didn't make a high and a higher high, but we made a high and a much lower high in the RSI. It's a bearish sign, but not as strong as the altcoin market and not as strong as the Bitcoin market. But we are showing signs of quite frankly, this right here, right now, as you're watching this video, is the third most oversold time in Ethereum's history. That's not up for debate. It's not some opinion. It's not a hot take. It's a bona fide fact. Now, I tell you that because let me tell you the story. For those of you who know, I started in the stock market when I was 16. The idea is I got into the stock market and it was just, this is before I even had a computer at our house. This is before cell phones exist. This is back in the days where I printed out charts and I studied like charts from a printout. And what I was obsessed with my first, call it first 10 years in markets is I was obsessed with understanding, and you could probably tell through my TA now, I loved these big cycles. I loved understanding these big cycles. And I got so obsessed with these big cycles that it took all of my energy. And I started studying deeply these cycles and trying to time these cycles. And this got me into trouble. And what I've realized now, not at the time, what I realized is in the time, I was so involved in these cycles and I had my idea about where, whether the top was in or we're close to the bottom. I was always understanding like the cycle is going this way. The market, the bear market's dead or the bull market is start. Whatever the idea was, I was too fixated on that. And I would look at some stocks and I would look at the chart and I would be like, oh my God, this is an amazing time to buy. Look, it's the fourth best time to buy. And I wouldn't buy back then because I was convinced that the market was going in a different direction. Now, you may relate to this on shorter time frames. A lot of you guys will be in these shorter time frames like, I'm convinced we're going up from here, but we're probably going up to exactly this number. And then when you look at a chart and you're like, wait a minute, this is like the third best buying time in history, but you're convinced that the market cycle is done. So you don't buy, even though the chart is screaming buy, you convince yourself otherwise because of this big market cycle that you're addicted to. Now, this has been a huge learning lesson. And what I've learned is, yes, dive into the cycles. Yes, dissect them. Yes, understand them. Yes, have some sort of idea of what could happen. However, when a chart presents itself where it says, this is one of the best times to buy, and here's the proof, trust the chart, not your idea of where the market can go. This lesson I just gave you could save you tremendous amounts of money and make you even more. Because if I had this information when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, even in my early to mid 20s, I would have crushed. But I was too emotionally attached to this broader outcome that I thought would happen. Whether it's a good outcome or bad, it made me ignore these clear facts in the charts. With individual charts, I would ignore them because of the bigger picture that I thought we were moving either up or down. And I just want to let you understand this because it could be a game changer. Now, let me finish with this chart. This is very interesting. This is obviously uncharted territory, but what we have here is Ethereum / Bitcoin on the 1 month, and this is on Binance. This is so strange, but we don't have enough data. But what the data that we do have suggests with the RSI, if you look at the RSI here, the RSI right now, and this is again Ethereum / Bitcoin, right, is all the way down clearly the lowest level it's ever been. Again, we don't have a whole bunch of cycles to compare it to and a whole bunch of data. We've got, 2016 here. We've got the top in 2017. We've got the bottom in 2018. We've got the subsequent top in 21. And then since the top of 2021, the only thing we've done is collapse. Okay. And again, we're just going to cover the facts. I love Ethereum. I still love Ethereum. But what could be going on is what I described before. And it's something that we pointed out with XRP. XRP had such a huge explosion in 17 that in 21 it didn't create a new all-time high because that prior all-time high was just so ridiculous. It's the same here, where you can see in the early days, if you took your Bitcoin and converted it to Ethereum back in 2016 or even in 2017, you would have made ridiculous amounts of money. It would have been almost illegal. And this enormous move upward is so profound that the market had to stabilize. This was clearly not sustainable. If we did this even one more time, Ethereum would be by far the biggest cryptocurrency in the world, overtaking Bitcoin. And it just overtaking Bitcoin is not realistic for Ethereum at this stage. Maybe 10 years, we'll see. But for right now, this cycle in 17 was so ridiculous that the 21 cycle was far less explosive, and we still needed to course correct. And we've been correcting since the 2021 cycle. Even though the bull run started at the very beginning of 2023, just look at what we've done in 2023. Here's 2020. Here's the start of 2023. We were all the way up here at the start of the bull. And the only thing we've done this bull with this pairing is plummet. But we so far have plummeted down into an area that we saw as support during our bear market of 2019. That's something I do like to see, and I really am curious how we're going to react here. At the same time, the RSI is clearly in a downfall, but these types of things, it's not like it's going to go into negative numbers. There's no such thing. So how much further can it fall? Not a ton. We're already at 24. It's not like we're going to fall to negative 24, right? We can fall to 0, although that's highly unlikely. The point is, we're clearly in an area where all the humans on planet Earth are doing one thing and one thing only. They are taking their Ethereum and they are selling it into Bitcoin. That's what they're doing, plain and simple. You always want to have the opposite mindset of what the high majority are doing. You want to always have, even though those decisions may seem tough, it's like, oh my God, this is in a free fall, this could get way worse, blah, blah. You can name all of these things, but the facts are the facts. The high majority of people right now are selling Ethereum into Bitcoin, plain and simple. So would selling Bitcoin into Ethereum make sense? Possibly. That's up to you to make that decision. But I do want to point out that we're on the monthly chart. We're heading back down into clear structure here. What could be a wise decision is to take a stop loss. For example, if you were to purchase inside of this zone here and we fell below this level here, you could set your stop loss right below there, because if we fell here, we're probably going to fall all the way down to the structure here, right? So you could save yourself. It's the risk reward thing, where the risk wouldn't be much, but the reward would be tremendous. Nobody knows what the market is going to do. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. But we can only go based on the facts and the charts, not our emotional opinion. And definitely what I've learned is not what you think the market is going to do. And I have a feeling that message is going to really resonate with you, because I guarantee you have felt that way possibly the entire time you've been in the markets. And you've probably dealt with it just like I did back in the day, where you were convinced of the market happening one way and you ignored opportunities in the charts because you were convinced of an outcome. Heavy information here. What we also want to talk about is the stochastic RSI, our momentum. Very strange. It's very, very strange. This is a very strange chart, because where we're at with our momentum, super low momentum, super low. The only time we've had super low momentum is at our market bottom. Like, we don't have enough data to really analyze it another way. Since the 21 top, the only thing we've done is crash, even during the bull. And we're down here at levels that we've seen at the prior bottom. So it's just very odd. A lot of signs are pointing one way. It's just so hard to believe. So I wanted to state that. You guys wanted altcoin videos. I gave you the best of my best stuff, including my favorite altcoins, a few different angles to look at it, and the total altcoin market. So lots and lots to dig into. I'm going to be making a lot more videos coming up. So the key is make sure you get on that wait list. That's going to be such a game changer, huge advantages to the wait list. And this masterclass that I'm making, like, everyone wants to know what to do with their altcoins. Everyone wants to know how to exit. It is the biggest question I've been getting at. It's what everyone is begging for. So I've been in the lab for months, and this course, this masterclass that I'm making, I haven't released a new course in a couple years, and my students know this. When I release something, it's ridiculously powerful. And as I'm building this course out, it's unbelievable. I think it's not even going to be close. This course is going to blow everything I've done out of the water. It's not even going to be close. As I'm building this course is going to be ridiculously powerful. I can't wait. I can't wait for you to see it. So I'll see you on the inside. Wow, what a bonus video. I just looked at how long this video is going to be. I think this is the longest bonus video I've ever done. I went in the lab and I tried to make the best bonus video that I've ever made with so much quality information from the heart. You know, everything I make is from the heart, and I wanted just to show love to all of my students and everyone who's on the wait list. I just wanted to show a lot of love, a lot of respect, and to do something really incredible. So I hope you enjoyed those bonus video. This is straight from my heart to you as a special gift. This special message goes out to all of my students and everyone on the wait list. You already know, one missed exit this cycle and your crypto gains can vanish overnight. If you've ever watched your portfolio go up and you didn't know when to exit altcoins or Bitcoin, this new exit plan masterclass is for you. And to my students and everyone on the wait list, I have never, ever released any exit plan strategy before. This is the very first time, and I'm so excited. This is going to be the best thing I have ever built. Also, to my students, if you're my student but not on the wait list, you better get on the wait list immediately, because there's huge advantages to being on the wait list. Number one, you're going to get the first opportunity to sign up. Number two, when you sign up, if you get your seat in the first 24 hours, you're going to immediately unlock a special gift from me that nobody else will ever get, and it will never be released. It'll be a special gift from me to you if you're able to lock in your seat in the first 24 hours from the wait list. So if you're a student and not on the wait list, just go to my website, cryptocrewuniversity.com, jump on the wait list. Huge advantages for being on the wait list. This is a pre-sale, and I just want you to know my students are loyal and they know I've never released this exit plan strategy before. They know this is brand new, and because of that, the seats are going to fill up real fast. So if you hesitate even a little bit, you're going to miss out. So mark your calendars, April 21st. Watch your inbox like a hawk. This is your chance to exit like a pro before the next crash.